Virginia, your firm, Stevenson Mansel,
Yes.
works with companies identifying future CEOs and,
Yes.
and developing leadership within the firms. So what are the key factors that identify a future CEO?
CEOs need to be extremely nimble and flexible, but there's an added complexity with all the debt crisis and the global changes. So they need to be able to set a vision and envision the future. They need to be able to deal with ambiguity and complexity. And they need.
And how do you go about identifying them down below? You know, in
Yes.
one or two rungs down below.
Yeah.
I mean, because you actually work with companies on succession planning, don't you?
Yes, we do.
And what does that involve now in, as you say, this new complex world?
Succession planning now requires a whole integrated, aligned approach from board level down for best practice. So identifying talent there's a whole lot of different interventions, from putting people onto broad assignments, cross-functional experience, giving them specific leadership development, 360-degree feedback, executive programs, customised leadership programs.
To what extent does it depend on luck as to whether somebody gets to be CEO, that they're in the right place at the right time?
Yeah. I think, I think it is absolutely not an exact science. I think that luck is about positioning yourself particularly in a large organisation, to have the right set of skills and to be understanding that you've got to sell yourself. You can't rely on a company handing out your career plan. You have to direct it yourself and own it, and you have to understand and navigate where you want to go and influence the right people.
I suppose it must be a bit tricky. I can imagine you do have to sell yourself and
Yes.
make sure that those who need to know about you do know, but you don't want to be seen to be too pushy and desperate, do you?
No, well, there is a fine line between being pushy and actually having good relationships and building a relationship stakeholder base. If it's purely seen as just self-promotion, then that's going to upset colleagues, and you also have to be a team player to be a good leader. So it is a delicate art.
What are the absolute must-haves in terms of skills for a future CEO?
You need to have courage, you need to have resilience, you need to be able to think through problem solving in a creative way. You have to be highly focused on your client base and the market and not lose touch with that. Self-awareness and having empathy and being able to manage yourself and maintain your work-life balance so that you don't get burnt out and you can think clearly and not be reactive.
It's interesting, you're talking about human traits there.
Yes.
Rather than, in a sense, professional traits, rather than
That's
kind
right.
of having an MBA or having knowledge of marketing or operational things.
Yes.
And that's very interesting that, that it really is about the human being.
At the end of the day, leadership is about being a human being who has the characteristics to lead a group of people to a common purpose.
Fascinating. Thanks very much for joining us, Virginia.
Yeah, thanks, Helen.